Welcome back to the Farms in BC podcast. My name is Jay Cack, and we got here Nav my partner. And today we're going to be going over the Bank of Canada announcements that were just announced here on April 10th. Stay tuned. Well, Nav, as you know, for the sixth time now, the Bank of Canada has just held the rates at 5%.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's seeming like it's going to be a never-ending story of holding, but what are your thoughts? I mean...
Yeah, I think the public was not surprised of them holding it. I think they were predicting that they're going to be holding them since early January, March even. Somewhere around that time, they said that they're going to want to really hold it until they hit that 2% target for the inflation rate. They're not there yet. And I don't think they're possibly going to get there this year. But, you know, I think this was predicted. I don't think this was a shocker to everybody. I think the big question is what now? And what does that look like for the spring market? What does that look like? When do we see the next interest rate decreases? And what's going to happen in the marketplace?
So I guess the question really is, what are they looking for before that decrease does occur, and what should we be looking out for?
Yeah, definitely. I think as everybody knew they were going to hold the rates. It was with the announcement, it was the key factors and the conversation that they had that they rolled out. So some factors were, yes, we've got unemployment increasing, which is a good sign for inflation. There are some key factors where they're questioning that may rise, that can still get inflation to come up. Housing, living cost, food, and fuel. These are some variable numbers that still can affect the inflation rate to go up. So I think the underlining factor here is yes, they know that they need to start decreasing. And I think they also announced that as well. There was a question asked by a reporter, and they did mention, this is the first time that he's ever mentioned in the last 3-4 announcements that yes, there is a high possibility that in the summertime the interest rates will start coming down. Now, he didn't specifically say June, and I know that's kind of what's happening in the marketplace right now. But they're eventually going to have to start doing it. I think what's really important is, can the inflation numbers come down enough for these next couple months before the next announcement? That's something that everybody should take a look at. So the two things that they are going to really look at for the next couple months, the indicators, they're going to want to make sure that unemployment numbers continue to rise. So I know that's not good for the economy, but that's good for inflation. And then a second thing they're going to really look for is just our prices staying steady and not increasing when it comes to fuel and for food, right? Housing, I think that's going to be a problematic part of the inflation equation. That's always going to continuously stay high. Rents are high. There's not enough housing supply. So that factor is a factor that will always keep the inflation rate a little bit higher. But key factors, jobs, food, and fuel. If they can get those under control, and then unemployment rate higher, then those are good signals that...
Yeah, and I mean, they were almost alluding to that the inflation rate was starting to steady out. There's a chance that maybe we might defer from the USA in terms of when we lower the rates. So, that kind of gave us a little bit of hope, a little bit of optimism that potentially April 10th could be that first hit where it goes down by, maybe 0.25. But unfortunately it didn't. But we didn't expect it to.
We are really we're married to the US.
Yeah.
And I think it's reflected that, whatever happens in the US is going to kind of reflect here. And we usually follow. I think this is the first time where The U.S. economy is doing much better, so they're not inclined to start decreasing rates. Our economy, on the other hand, is not doing as good, so we're going to probably, for the first time in a long time, have to start decreasing our rates before the U.S. Fed. The problem is the Canadian dollar's value will start dropping, right? And then but then again, that raises inflation. So they have a lot of they're walking a tightrope. And it's really easy for the public to say, hey, let's start decreasing. People are hurting. It's hard. But the overall picture of the economy, it's not as easy. So like they rather do it very slow and steady and be very cautious. And I know a lot of people will be hurting with that. But the overall economy, it's good for. And I do agree. They should have held it this time. And honestly, I know they're saying that they're probably going to start decreasing in June. I prior to this announcement, I was very strong, like 80-90% they will start decreasing in June. Now I'm 50-50. And I think it's still it's okay. It's nothing that's bad.
It's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed either.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what we are expecting. Like I'm probably more optimistic. I'm probably thinking 70 to 80% chance that it's probably going to be in that June market. But at the same time, we got to start thinking about how does that affect our, acreage buyers and sellers, and how does that is that a time that we should be waiting for, or is that a time we should be taking advantage of? What are your first thoughts on that?
Just overall, like I think I don't think we should really look at it as well. There's two sections, right? The first two sections are, what do buyers that are looking to buy and sell acreage from now till June? Because now we've got a 2-month window, almost about a month and a half to 2-month window where and we're in the spring market. Like these are some things that what's going to happen now, and then depending on your financing and how long you can wait, how does that look like after June, July? If on the buying perspective, I don't think you should be waiting anymore. We, even in the previous podcast that we've had, we've always said, maybe not the right time, wait for certain factors. I think now is the right time to buy. If you are looking to get a good selection of inventory and have less competition with buyers, your window is quite small. You probably have about 2 to 3 months to buy something. Now, are you going to get the best price? You probably will get a better price than you might get in July to March, spring of 2025. Because my prediction is that the prices will start going up. And once that happens, then your payments are pretty much going to be aligned the same, but more people are going to be in the market and you're going to be competing. As a seller, I believe if you price things correctly, now is the time to put it on the market. I think the one thing the sellers need to be aware of is that it's gonna still take time to sell. Just because the buyers are starting to come back in, it's still gonna take an average market cycle's time frame to sell. So a 5 acres still might take 3 to 6 months. A bigger acreage might still take 6 to 12 months. And I think the key for sellers is you got to be patient. And as long as the marketing, as long as your agent is continuing to market on a weekly, on a monthly, and you see showings continuing to happen, don't rush to reduce the price, but at the same time, don't put so much pressure on yourself that you're not getting showings or you're not getting any offers. A lot of these acreage properties, they're meant for a specific buyer. And to find that specific buyer in a market like this does take time, right? So sellers, be patient, price things correctly. And buyers, if you are looking to buy, try to get in now before you start seeing a little bit more competition. Prices may go up. So it's one of those factors where, the time is now.
Yeah, timing is everything, right? Especially for these niche products. I know everything around that 5 to 10 acre mark is more residential, is more. It does turn over a quicker, rate. But these properties that are 30 acres, 40 acres, 50 acres, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
These are more niche products. We expect them to be on the market for a longer period of time.
Correct.
And timing the market for those sellers is pretty critical. And, we've been advising, wait till a little bit later down the road. However, now that is that later time of the road, because these next 2 months is when all these buyers are going to be eyeing the market,
Correct.
making their plans financially,
so
that they can take advantage of those rates that are going to be coming down in the summer.
That's right.
But they're going to be looking now.
I do agree with you. You want to expose your property now, still be patient, but exposing it now before the June or July reduction and a potential secondary reduction after that, you want to be on the market, available, ready to show, versus trying to time the market and say, okay, the interest rates come down now, let's list. So keep your product on the market, be patient, be available to show, and just make sure your realtors are continuing to continuously, aggressively market.
Yeah, it's interesting because, from March till the April announcement was only a 1 month period. So some folks were even thinking, let's wait till that April announcement. Maybe there's, some benefit in waiting. And I did see a little bit of a lull in the market there.
Yeah.
But soon as April 10th announcement happened, I've been noticing an uptick in
even prior to the April 10th announcement. Out of that 4-week period from announcement to announcement, I think we've had 1 week that was was very low in call volume for buyers. But definitely majority of that month, it was busy. People are still writing offers. We're still getting a ton of showing requests. Yes, buyers are negotiating a little bit harder, which is okay. It's a process. And they have every right to negotiate a little bit harder. And it's one of those things is patience and listening to your realtor in this specific market is going to get you a successful outcome. What I've noticed in previous markets where the market was hot, some sellers were very stubborn on price. They said, this is my price. But, when there was a very limited amount of inventory and the buyer pool was like 4 to 1, for every one property, was 4 buyers. Now it's the complete opposite. So, for every one property, there's probably a quarter of buyers. So you got to be very patient. You got to be able to negotiate. Do not get offended when offers come in. Counter the offers and just, you got to negotiate. You got to trust your realtor to do his job.
I remember in March we were having the chat regarding how everything above or under 3 million is actually still getting a lot of action, and anything above that is kind of it's dwindling. But however, I'm actually seeing now between 3 to 4, you're actually getting that action happening for those properties up to the 4 million.
4 million mark,
Up after that, it's getting a little bit quieter.
Yes.
But at the same time, that's expected because even if you move the interest rates down by 0.25 or have the expectation that they will, or 0.5, it's still way up there. It's still 5.5%, 6%. It's still in that ballpark.
So
which is hard to afford for the majority.
Oh, for sure. Even now, say if they do a quarter reduction in July or June, and they do another 0.25% September, October. I think they will do it before the election. So I'm thinking maybe September, October. There might be a little bit more momentum built up, but it's still, the interest rates are still quite high. It's at 4.5% base rate. So it's still going to take some time for these bigger jumps to start happening. It's not going to happen this year. I think price points are going to gradually go up and very consistently. I think those big spikes that we used to see in price points jumping up, I don't think you're going to see that for quite some time now. I do see a gradual growth going up. And it also is product dependent. And it's also supply dependent. So what's going to be interesting to see is how much supply actually hits the market for the next 3 months, right? And that's going to really determine, are prices going to go up or are they going to stay steady? And also depending on how fast they actually move. We know that the amount of buyer pool that's out there, there's a lot of buyers out there looking. They are more pickier, which they can be, because they have a lot more inventory to look for. And when they do like a property, they are negotiating hard. And I think if you've got someone that's knowledgeable and understanding as an agent representing you as a seller, you'll do fine, right? And it's not like a residential condo or detached where you're selling and things are moving quicker, the negotiations on these properties take much longer. We're seeing offers come in anywhere from asking price 3, 4, 5, 600 grand difference in price, right? And you have to work them. You have to work the buyers up to that point. So vice versa for buyers, they're trying to get the best price because they still know they have this window for this environment to still negotiate really, really hard, and they are.
And we're still having that advantage for the buyers where the sellers are allowing the 4-week subjects. They're allowing the subjects to sale, which is hard to come by. It's not going to be possible later down the road when the inventory comes up, right?
That's
so these kind of opportunities are still available for the buyers right now. And these sellers could be taking advantage of those buyers that are looking to get into the market by listing the property right now as well.
That's right. Just being patient and really. I think that this is the time where if you're a seller and you're a serious seller and you want and need to sell, be patient, take advice from your realtor, price things correctly, and make sure your realtor is marketing aggressively. And it will sell. Yeah, it will sell this year because everything is looking very, very positive for a seller. It's looking very positive. Even for buyers, it's looking very positive here. Like even if the rate drops 0.25%, yes, you might have more competition, but hopefully you'll have more inventory to select from as well.
Awesome. So I mean, we got a little bit of an idea of what to expect coming into the next 2 months here.
Yeah.
We are recommending that this be the moment that we pull the trigger on it.
Yeah.
And then number 2, anyways, overall, what we're seeing is that we're expecting the rates to fall in June.
Correct. Or in the summer.
Or in the summer in general. If not June, it'll be the next one over.
That's right.
But after that, it's really just then September, and that's like, we're kind of getting close to that election period, which could be another radical difference maker there.
Yeah.
But we have 2 months here, a 2-month gap, which is different from that 1-month gap between March and April.
Yes.
Where people kind of had that little bit of a rate assurance that maybe there's going to be something positive happening in April.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't come through, but a hold is still a good news story in general.
Yeah.
We need to start thinking towards people have 4 months to hold their rate.
Yeah.
They could potentially get that rate improvement in June, maybe make that deal on a property right now, allow your completion period to end at that point, take advantage of that as well. So this 2-month period is where
it's crucial.
The real deals are going to happen here.
Yeah. So, and one thing I've noticed is even if you have a later closing and say you've got a closing in September, October, November, you can lock in a rate that you're comfortable with now. As things decrease and there's better rates that are offered, your mortgage broker can go back and renegotiate that better rate and lock that in for 6 months, which is a huge benefit. Yeah. So it's just a win all around.
I mean, any other final thoughts? I feel like we kind of covered everything on the basis side of the rate change here.
Yeah.
It is the 6th consecutive hold, which is quite impressive as it is. But, it's I don't think they want to increase it at this point in time. No. But you never know. You never know. It's not off the tables. But at the same time, I feel like the sentiment is going towards a positive route that it is going to be going down.
I think the markets are going to. I think we have survived, or whoever has held the properties that want to sell this year, they've held it through the worst time. Buyers that have been waiting out on the sidelines for about a year to jump in the market. I know the challenge is still getting the approval is still one of the biggest challenges out there for these buyers. If you've got a good realtor, there's ways to get creative. Yeah. There's ways to do deposit structures. There's ways to do subjects to sale. There's ways to do later closings. There's so many different ways how you can still satisfy a seller's needs for their goals and still align a purchase to time either of you pulling out some money or trying to go over that mark where there's going to be 2 interest rate decreases. Right.
And even on the seller side, a quick tip I could advise is, kind of think of it from the buyer's perspective, like where is the income going to come from on this acreage / it is a business, half a residential, right? So if you can kind of make it easy for them to understand where the financials are going to come from, that really helps with the purchase.
Well, we've noticed that a lot of our properties that we have listed that have
that are
a
getting
lot
traction.
are all heavy income producing properties.
That's right.
Either they have rental potential, they are currently bringing in some sort of good cash flow. Those are the ones that are getting a lot of attraction. And those ones, even though they're even over 3.5 million, 4 million, they still seem to get the most attraction. Yeah.
And in terms of farm production, we're actually seeing these folks actually come back in for those kind of properties like blueberries. I'm starting to get a lot more traction for that side of things.
I've
well
actually got a lot of calls for blueberry farms. I've got a lot of calls for, one thing that's been really, really busy, beautiful homes on 5, 10, 15 acres. The buyer pool is still there.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you're touching that 4 to 6 million, yes, they're a lot pickier for the house they want on that acreage, but the buyers are definitely there.
And that's the lifestyle angle.
It's a lifestyle, yeah.
Within reasonable, I guess, workforce, right? Like for a 15 acre, that's probably pushing it. But usually about 5, 10 acres, that's manageable for a small workforce.
Like we did a showing today on a beautiful acreage, 10 acres, priced really, really well. Beautiful home. With a mobile home for rental. And man, it's a good deal. And I hope our client is going to write on it, hopefully get it. But man, I'm seeing a lot of good deals out there right now.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I mean, I guess the story for today is now is the time. And I guess that's the public service announcement that we want to get across, right? So awesome. That's it for my side.
Yeah.
Perfect.